So with our handsome Mr. R, he's doing a real nice job. We're going to warm up with our usual, some find it exercises, get him up and wiggling, and then we'll do a little bit of some engagement to us, and then we'll see how, oh my goodness, chewing is optional, but we'll see how he's feeling. He did some really nice playing earlier today too with his good friend Miss Mabel, and then also with Miss Kiva, and he tried, oh, chewing is optional again. But he did try playing with Mr. Max, but Max was not quite as enthralled. Max really technically loves playing with Kiva a little bit more. And then Zeus got to do some play as well on Leash with a couple lovely hellos to Mr. Handsome and, of course, our lovely Miss M. Ready? So let's say he's warmed up now. He's been doing a pretty good job with those lovely find its. We're going to go into just getting some nice orientation towards me again from the environment. So we're kind of working a little bit this lovely loose leash walking. And remember that if he's ever struggling, break it down into smaller steps. So some of my favorites, oh my goodness, and maybe squishy snacks. Huh, sir? He does have some squishy snacks as well, but sometimes I feel the dry snacks get caught. So for Mr. Handsome over here, Mr. R, we're just doing a little bit with some loose leash walking, even without our equipment on for now, just to get him warmed up and kind of cozy. We're also making sure that anytime I am feeding the handsome guy, it's by my side. So I don't care if in the beginning he does a little bit of switching back and forth or he favors the left versus the right. The main goal is that we're getting some nice orientation to me and that we're getting some focus on and off and we're able to bounce back from those distractions. So right now, Mr. Handsome's doing such a nice job with this lovely engagement with me. Yes. So remember, the rate of reinforcement is going to be also very crucial. So I give him little breathers. We work a few little find its and we go back to another couple skills. If we don't see a snack, we'll always get it later. So with the handsome guy, ready? Yes. This can start to be really beneficial for him for down the road because we know he's an excitable guy. So a lot of times, even in puppyhood through adolescence, we're going to deal with a lot of life changes. And throughout those moments, you're going to have moments where your babe is going to be able to tolerate a setup, an environment, a distraction, and then other days where they're not going to do quite as well. So remember to expect perfection or the exact same outcome every time is, of course, hopeful wishing, but we want to make sure that our goals or our expectations are realistic for the age group, the puppy in front of us, and also what maybe they've worked on or mastered thus far. So even though we might feel that, you know what, he's gotten really good with his name, he's gotten really good with sits, you might find you step outside and now there's the odors, there's the distractions, sights, sounds, and of course, animals. You may find that his ability to hone in at that time is out the window. So I do find that it takes any dog or even a puppy lots of good repetitions in a calm but comfortable environment first to understand the concept of what you're trying to work on. And then you gradually increase the difficulty from the environment, from the distractions, from the distances between you and the babe. But if, let's say, nice job, Rocky, you handsome boy, but let's say he wasn't doing so hot, what is the environment doing or how difficult could the environment be? And if the environment becomes way too strenuous, I find one of the easiest things is to prevent the puppy from failing by choosing environments where he's going to be capable to be functional and learn new skills and master old ones. So remember to make it easy at both ends of the leash for both you and your puppy, because since he's no longer under 12 weeks of age, that crucial socialization and early experience window kind of closes around the 12 to 16 week mark. So from this point on, you're also dealing with now the pathways have kind of been laid down. And now you're going to be dealing with more of his genetics will start to come out around the 6-month mark. And that's where a lot of folks tend to struggle at times when you start to get your teenager. So with our handsome guy, I know Mr. M says, worst day ever, why aren't I having snacks? So I'm going to go ahead and toss just a couple little goodies for Mr. M to go find. And then that way he can stay a little bit busy. And Miss K has been doing a really great job too. So every day that they're coming, they get more and more comfortable and fluid with their skill set. and even their behavior or comfort range, which is awesome. So even though, again, you know, their very first day, they were a little bit flustered, because just like with anybody getting dropped off for something new, it's a little bit new and surprising and different. And at times, different or novel can equal a little bit of anxiety or some big feelings. So, but today they're all doing a really nice job and are in a very nice little sort of comfortable routine now. Yes. So now that he's gotten a little bit more comfortable, I want to see if I could work a couple little sits and get him to maybe try working a couple wait behaviors. So wait is, again, wait before sometimes being called, wait before going through a doorway. It could be also wait before hopping out of the vehicle or somewhere where it could be a safety situation, which is crucial. So some folks will also do wait before being fed. Again, he's like, I have to go visit Max. Chewing is still optional. So if you're finding, that was a good check back in, sir. So their buddies are kind of up against the fence line here, so they can see each other. But then at times I'm working with one versus the other, depending on who's here for doggy day school versus who's here for the structured play. So the structured play, again, is just WrestleMania, but of course confined and regulated. So we have some good play interactions with relaxation or taking breaks. And then obviously doggy day school, there is some of that lovely socialization time. But then there's also a lot of moments where we're working, filming, and sort of educating the puppy with certain skills. Yes. So let's say I'm going to try and work a little bit. In the beginning, I like to, before throwing in the weights, get my puppy in the groove that coming to me has value. So I like to normally start off with some find its and then go, Rocky, come. Yes, and feed him for that. So there are a few other previous videos too with recall practice. So you can always feel free, check out some of the previous content from other friends. Doesn't mean you have to. Rocky, come. But sometimes there might be other videos or tidbits that you might be struggling with and then have already been kind of worked on with previous pups. So again, we're going to do another little find it. And again, for a puppy that has a lot of energy, Rocky, come. This can be a really great way to burn off some extra energy, but it's constructive, it's structured, it's not woohoo, the only time is like, let's go bananas. So now that he's gotten a little bit more cozy with the find it and then a recall, I'm gonna try to ask him for a little wait, take a teeny little lean. So notice if it's a little bit hard for him, I'm not gonna go too far. And I'm gonna go, Rocky, come, and then have him come to me from that waiting position. So wait could happen in a sitting, in a down, and sometimes even in a stand, because they could be waiting, standing to cross the roadway with you at the set of lights. They could be waiting to like maybe go do another skill. So the wait just means hold back, sir or madam, until I call you forward. So with my guys, when I call them, it's either coming to me, so a little recall, so their name and then the come, or I might be calling them by their name and then telling them to go grab it or go get the thing, so retrieving something. So you can also do waits and then release them to go grab a food item or a chew or a toy as well. Excuse me, and work them that way as well from that exercise. Seltzer's not a good idea, I'm so sorry. So I'm gonna get him into a little sit, tell him to wait, and if let's say he's taking a step back equaled he moved too, I might do a lean and then go Rocky, come. So you'll see that when I call him, I'm not backing at the same time and having me move as I want him to move. Chewing them, sir. Because if, let's say, I call him and I'm moving backwards, Mr. R is going to think that every time I take a step away from him or I add movement on my end, that it might mean come forward and visit. So I'm going to tell him to wait, take a little lean if he can handle it. And if he couldn't handle it, I wouldn't be adding any of these steps. So in the sense of movement on my end. And I go, Rocky, come. Nice. So let's say he's doing really nice with like a step or so to the side or back, you could then add a little bit of movement. Oh my goodness, it fell right out of his jowl. So I'm going to tell him to wait. I might add a little step. And then what I might do is kind of lean from side to side and not add more difficulty by moving away from him. Rocky, come. So remember, when practicing anything, we want to think about those 3 Ds, which I know I've harped on, so I'm so sorry, but it's important. So your first D, oh my goodness, chewing, could be your duration. So how long can my puppy do something and do it well? But also maybe how long between reps. So if let's say the wait is hard for him, I might keep the wait just maybe like a second or 2 tops and then call him before he has a struggle moment. If my puppy breaks, which means he gets up too soon or he wiggles or forgets what he's doing, there's no consequence for making a mistake. Because if I were to do an or oh no, or don't move, those are moments where he doesn't understand the concept behind the wait in general, But now if we startle him or surprise him into not moving, he might either always need those spooky moments to hold still, or he might start to think that making a mistake can be scary and he may not want to try even the good stuff for us. So right here, I'm going to feed him for this nice little relaxation moment. He's actually been getting so much more comfortable, which is splendid. I'm very proud of him because he is a little bit of an anxious boy, but on top of that, he has a lot of energy. So remember that hyperactivity, a lot of folks misinterpret it as my dog needs more energy expending. And then you might create a dog that is always on high, ready for the next woohoo moment to try to get them tired. But you may actually be creating the triathlon athlete that you never want to keep up with. So remember that your puppy also needs to just be and exist and be comfortable and just hanging out. This doesn't mean that if my puppy's struggling, I just let them drown in the situation. The AC just poked on, so he was like, what the heck was that funny noise? But right now, even though we were working on weights, I'm feeding for this lovely vegging for right now because I want Mr. R to really feel there's value in taking breaks because for a lot of adolescents, there's no such thing. So remember, for this age group, he's still going to need between, again, 18 to 20 hours of sleep a day. Of course, that can fluctuate between puppies or their needs, but it's definitely up towards that 18-hour range. For adult dogs, it's even 16 hours, and some even prefer the 18 as well. So remember, if your babe is not getting enough downtime, you might have an even harder time creating downtime later as well. So right here, this is beautiful. I might go ahead and see if I can get him to do another little wait. So we'll have him wait. And then right here, if he's doing a great job, again, I don't always want to get him up when he's doing such a nice job relaxing, but I might go, Rocky, come. Yes. If, of course, he's really cozy, I maybe don't have to rock that weight, so he's doing a nice job vegging. But I just wanted to see if I could get it from the down position as well. So remember, with those 3 Ds, we have our duration. So how long can my puppy do something and do it well? And then there's going to be your distance. So you saw when I was working these weights, I'm not adding tons of distance between him and myself. If I went from, like, let's say barely 3 seconds to now I'm adding distance to now I'm also working with distractions, which is your 3rd D, then you may have moments where your puppy is so flustered and so overwhelmed with just the spectrum that is that setup that they may not do well at all. And then you end up getting frustrated. The puppy gets confused and frustrated and overwhelmed, and then no one has a good time practicing. So right here, I'm going to tell him to wait. I'm going to add a little step if I can. There's a little noise from some of the beauties wiggling some of their toys. I'm going to go, Rocky, come. Nice. You'll also see that a lot of times I tend to practice certain skills when I think the puppies are going to be successful. He's just going to go grab some of those leftover snacks, and there's a water dish over in the corner. So for Mr. R, if we know he just woke up from a nap and he maybe hasn't had some of his needs met, so like tugging, chasing, playing, engaging, and doing something, oh, Miss K and Mr. Handsome, Mr. M are wrestling. I love it. So if, let's say, his needs haven't been met, then that means he may not be capable of doing the other skills because there's still that underlying thing that hasn't happened on his end. So almost like with us, like if you need your morning coffee to function, if you need to use the restroom, if you need to maybe do the word puzzle, those are things that help you feel comfortable in your morning routine. So for a lot of dogs, natural dog behavior like chasing, biting, digging, grabbing and shaking, I know they all sound horrible, but they're very normal, is that if we don't create these little outlets that also are mentally and physically enriching for your puppy, like sniffing and licking and chewing as well, then we might have a puppy that its needs are never met, and therefore your pup is kind of a little bit more explosive, and the behavioral problems we might be dealing with are actually the byproducts of those needs not being met. So I do find that a lot of behavioral problems are stemming, one, from natural dog behavior, but also stemming from natural breed tendencies, where if we got a herding dog, like for example, a cattle dog, you would more than likely have tons of cattle dog traits that they were bred to do for thousands, well, maybe not thousands, but many years and generations. So this is where with Mr. Handsome, if we don't always know what his whole composition is, not the end of the world, but sometimes knowing what you have for some breeds can also better suit you and him to give him those outlets. But in general, dogs have very similar needs that are, again, typical to dogs in general as a species. So if we get to offer him some of those items alongside some of this mental and physical practice, you'll get a much easier going beauty for down the road. So gorgeous. So he came over, planted right next to me. I'm going to feed him for that. So now I might go, Rocky, wait. And he's doing this even while his friends are wrestling on the other side right now. Rocky, come. Gorgeous. 2, I know I get this all the time. Why does my puppy behave this way for you and not for me? So there's nothing that you guys are doing wrong on purpose or, in any of those scenarios. But a lot of times what people don't realize is that for your puppy's learning history with me, it's always been very comfortable, structured, and at his rate. But also whenever I see little glimmers of success, I feed for those moments. Right here, yes. What I find a lot of folks do as starting handlers or starting trainers, for example, with your own beauty, is we're very stingy with food. We tend to not reinforce the moments we'd like to happen again, and we tend to scold things that we're not loving. So a lot of times we're giving a lot of information from our perspective of what not to do, but remember that for your puppy, startling or scaring them, and I'm not saying this is what you guys are doing, but a lot of humans will do this. Yes, my lovey? I'm just filming right now, my love. My little wild woman is here with me, which she was doing some drawing. She's turned into quite the artist. So she's been drawing some beautiful dragons. But again, off topic. She was just, oh my goodness, he forgot to chew that last one. So she was just wondering where I was. You're right there, Mr. Handsome? He's like breathing and chewing his heart. So, but for the handsome guy is remember that for his learning history with me, every time he's offered me something that I find is valuable for him to work on, I reinforce those moments. Remember that you're not going to create a roly-poly if you're taking some of their food portion, if you're dicing up your treats itty-bitty, and you're giving a little bit here and there throughout the day. Remember that every skill or behavior has a bank account. So the more deposits you're putting into those skills, no matter what they might be, your babe is going to offer those much more readily later because they have a great value or association to that thing. So obviously putting his booty on the floor and working a gorgeous sit has been very well rehearsed and very much so fed. So offering sitting positions tend to be something he gives really readily. So, but remember, if you want all your other skills to be just as reliable, we want to make sure that we're depositing, again, money into those bank accounts. So money for him would be things he finds valuable, not things we've deemed valuable. So plenty of times people are like, couldn't I just tell my dog he's a good boy? And I was like, well, couldn't your boss just give you a high five? So remember, in those situations, a high five is not going to be valuable to you in that setting because the work you did was requiring a paycheck you found equivalent to that hard, difficult thing you just did. So thank goodness dogs don't notice when they're getting paid or not paid in the sense of a paycheck coming bi-weekly or whatever. Oh, chew them, sir. But maybe for him, if one day we reinforce heavily for certain skills and then other points we give nothing, we might be losing out on your puppy's reliability with skills. So those would be things I'd be careful about is, are we at times ruining maybe skills for down the road by either pairing them with something scary? Oh, Max says, don't forget about me. Ready, find it? So we'll do a couple little find it's for Mr. M. He says he's very lonely. It'll be his turn soon too. Ready? You want to do a couple find it, sir? So obviously for Mr. M, he gets a little bit more impatient because he's a lady. I want to come practice. So, but for Mr. R, what I would highly recommend is make sure, are we helping him being set up for success? And that could come in the form of baby gates, corrals, using your leash and your harness in the home, but practicing the skills we would like him to do or offer instead of the skills we don't love well before we need them. So if you practice in the moment when you need the behavior, it's like working the brand new dance move up on stage. It's not going to look pretty and it's not going to make you feel very good. So from his perspective, it might add more confusion or fatigue or anxiety, because if, let's say, sitting still while grandma comes in the door is really unattainable, movement behaviors might be better, but then maybe asking him to go do a Kong, maybe go have a lovely frozen snack of some scenario or some item. And then that way, Mr. Handsome could be set up to do this when he couldn't quite handle that setup quite yet. So remember, kind of like your ABCs, we're starting at the very easy bare bones, and then those skills, again, become the advanced skills when they become more refined and mastered. So he's doing a great job. He doesn't jump. He's doing a very nice moment here and there, working his check-ins. And so we might work one more little weight and then give him a little break. So again, we'll do a little weight. I'm going to try. And notice how when I add movement, if he's getting fatigued, me adding movement could be a little hard. So I'm going to reset him up, get that little sit, Tell him to wait. I might take a teeny little lean, give him a few seconds so he can be successful. And then again, Rocky come. So remember, don't do so many reps that it turns into almost boot camp. And then your puppy doesn't want to participate with us when we go to practice. So if he's working weights or recalls or any skill, maybe do, okay, let's say he does an amazing job with 7 recalls, do 3, do 5, do 2. Don't always go up to 7. Because then it does become more exhausting than fun, and we want it to seem easy. Nice job, Mr. R. So we'll give the handsome guy a little breather from some of these skills, and then he's like, oh, winded. And we'll work a few others. So sorry, my seltzer is always a great option. But good job, Mr. R. He's like, I'm coming with ya.